April 11th, 2021. It was on that day I spoke out about an issue that nobody seemed to have brought up before me. Perhaps the mere sight of it scares off anyone who dares mention it. This accursed thing I speak of lies within the Nintendo Switch's best-selling game Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It is a game renowned for its supreme level of quality and steadfast refusal to stop selling copies. However, in it lives a screen that I deem to be Nintendo's greatest sin. Behold! 2.5 years ago, I made a video detailing why the screen was such a god-awful blemish on an otherwise masterful game. Unfortunately, since it was my first time delving into video editing, the video is kind of abysmal. Not only was the audio quality unacceptable, but the 480p Google slideshow I presented everything in was borderline unwatchable.
Why are you using the Wii ones? The Wii ones!
Originally, I was fine leaving it at that, a video just as terrible as the screen that inspired it. However, on November 9th, 2023, Nintendo released Wave 6 of the game's Booster Course DLC, and with it, a change to the Amiibo screen. Was this it? Did they finally fix the game's greatest flaw? No, they made it worse. Clearly, since I failed to make that first video with quality, Nintendo was doomed to expound on their previous mistake. That is why I must make this one count, to help save the world from experiencing another tragedy such as this. While Mario Kart 8 released on May 29, 2014 for the Wii U, the Amiibo screen didn't become a thing until the Amiibo update in November of that same year. This original Amiibo screen is the least offensive, but it still serves as an early warning for how much worse things could get. The one positive I can give this iteration of it is that the Mario renders are all on the top, and the other franchise characters are on the bottom. Regrettably, this is all it gets right, since the problems with the renders chosen to represent the characters already make themselves abundantly clear. The titular man himself pulls his render from the late Wii game Fortune Street, released on December 1st, 2011 in the US. The render still looks clean, and even if it isn't technically from a dedicated Mario game, it gets the job done. Originally, I questioned why they didn't just use the Mario 3D World renders, as they were far and away the highest quality at the time. In retrospect, I think Nintendo chose not to use them because the more distinct art style of 3D World would have clashed with the other Mario characters that weren't featured in this title. The Man in Green's render is taken from Mario Party Island Tour, and despite being from a terrible Mario Party game, the render is very solid and looks natural next to Mario's. However, this specific render happens to be an updated version of the one from Mario Party 7, and to be completely honest with you, I think the older one actually looks slightly better, at least in terms of the more intricate detail on the clothes. Now, despite Bowser and Toad not arriving until the game's second update, I'm grouping them with Peach since all three characters have the renders taken from New Super Mario Bros. Wii, which came out on November 12, 2009. While it is a slightly older game, Peach and Bowser's renders are still more than usable, although part of me wishes they used Bowser's New Super Mario Bros. U render just because it goes so damn hard. Toad's is also passable, but I personally think his 3D Land render is a tad better as he exudes more life in that one. Everybody's favorite green dinosaur had his render pulled from the party classic Mario Party 8. This render gets the job done, I suppose, but Mario Party 9 and Island Tours are sitting right by, and they have Yoshi acting more lively compared to the subdued tone he has in the Mario Party 8 render. It's frankly disturbing Nintendo wouldn't choose Yoshi at his best for this highly important Amiibo screen, given he's Miyamoto's #1 Mario character. Even in the Olympics, DK is still being a Chad, giving everyone a thumbs up with his Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Winter Games render. Unfortunately, the Amiibo screen has the audacity to cut off the part with his thumbs up, thus defeating the entire point of using it in the first place. I am appalled by Nintendo for doing this, especially when his Fortune Street render is right there. They did my man dirty. No wonder why he looks so murderous in his actual Mario Kart 8 render. Now this is a problem. Whose brilliant idea was it to use 2D artwork for his image when nearly everyone else uses a 3D render? I get Skyward Sword was the most recent game, but this blatant lack of care towards consistency is abhorrent. One may say that there aren't any good non-stylized renders from Skyward Sword, and they would be right, which is why I have a counter-argument! My counter-argument starts with these three guys, as they all follow the bizarre trend of presumably using edited versions of their Smash 4 renders. As you can see, the renders in Smash 4 are similar to the ones featured on the screen, but ever so slightly different. Most of these guys hadn't had a recent game, so it makes sense as to why Nintendo created these somewhat original renders, which brings us right back to Link. All they had to do was position the Smash 4 render slightly differently, and we would have had a much better looking Link portrait that would have actually meshed with everything else. But no, Nintendo just had to mess it up and ruin my day because of it. Alright, woo, I need to calm down, and what better way to do that than with Kirby. Released on October 24th, 2011, Kirby's Return to Dreamland gifts us with a splendid render of the pink puffball that does him justice and puts him a step above the clown act that Link is trying to pull. Oh boy, do I have some choice words for this one. Remember when I said it made sense for Nintendo to go to edited Smash 4 render route for the characters who haven't had a game in a while? Well, throw that reasoning into the fucking incinerator, because for some benign reason, Nintendo thought it'd be a brilliant idea to use Samus's render from Metroid Prime, which came out in 2002. Not only is that specific design of the Wario suit immensely outdated, given it was directly replaced by the far superior Prime 2 design just 2 years later, but said design became the face of the entire Prime series, being reused in Hunters, Prime 3, and even Federation Force later down the line. That's not the end of it though. Nintendo could have easily used the other M Wario suit, since they used it for literally everything else that had Samus on it during the Wii U generation, including Smash 4. Nintendo was so seemingly obsessed with having somewhat recent renders for the other aforementioned characters, but when it came to Samus, arguably the greatest video game heroine of all time, nah, fucker. Just use this 12-year-old render that isn't even close to being the best rendition of her suit. You know, with how much they hated Metroid this generation, I'm surprised their ninjas didn't just break into my house and beat the shit out of me to really dig it in. On April 23rd, 2015, the game was updated to include 8 additional Mii racing suits, and remember how I praised the orderly layout of the original Amiibo screen? Well, Nintendo apparently decided to piss every single person with OCD off because they ruined it all. Instead of placing the added Mario characters next to the old ones and the new non-Mario characters besides the existing ones like sane people would, they just haphazardly slapped the newbies after all the veterans. It disgusts me how someone thought this was a good idea, and it makes me believe they did it on purpose, just to really rub in how much they hate me and to the degree that they want me to suffer. Okay, I'm letting the anger get the better of me here. And what better way to quell this rage than by admiring Wario's positively gorgeous render ripped from Mario Party 10, which came out on March 12th, 2015, just a little over a month before the second update dropped. Although, it makes me wonder why they bothered using the new Super Mario Bros. Wii renders for Bowser and Toad when they had better ones from Mario Party 10. Whatever, at least Rosalina has a stunning render from this game, so I think it's fair to assume that they would utilize this one for the Amiibo screen, since her suit was added in this update as well. It wouldn't make sense to only use one render from Mario Party 10 and not use any of the others. That would be just plain stupid. Nintendo. All you had to do was slap the Mario Party 10 render onto the Amiibo screen and we wouldn't have had any problems. But no, you and your pride, your ego, you just had to use the one from Mario Kart Wii. If you'd done your research and known your characters, we'd be fine right now. Now I know I already went over this one, but I just wanted to point out the abhorrent aspect, being that they named his suit as Pikmin, even though it's clearly modeled off Olimar's spacesuit. What's your problem, Nintendo? Do you just have a vendetta for Olimar and don't want to give him the credit he deserves? Dick move. Pulled right from New Leaf, these renders are the best they had at the time, and even though I literally just complained about the last one using the series name as opposed to the actual character, it makes more sense in this case given the Mii suit isn't based on a specific character and it's just a general Animal Crossing themed suit. What I will complain about is why they felt the need to put both Villager and Isabelle in the portrait. Isabelle just looks out of place here, and because of where she is, it means Villager's render doesn't take up enough of the frame to cover up the dead space. What a joke! Hey look! Mega Man was such a big fan of Link, he decided to also use 2D art just to screw things up even more. To be fair, like Link, Mega Man doesn't really have any good 3D renders to pull from, and at least this art from Mega Man 9 isn't as distinctly stylized as the one from Skyward Sword. Regardless, they could've and should've just gone the Smash 4 route, but now I just sound like a broken record. Speaking of, the Smash 4 render would have been excellent for the Paxter as well. Instead, Nintendo literally just drew a yellow circle and cut a triangle out of it. Incredible. Truly awe-inspiring. inspiring work. Even though it again clashes with everything, I'm willing to give it somewhat of a pass, since even using a render from Pac-Man World 3 probably wouldn't have made loads of sense given that the suit is very clearly based off classic arcade Pac-Man. Nonetheless, I'm furious! I seriously don't understand why the developers are obsessed with choosing the most lifeless stills of the characters, because only an imbecile would think picking a render from Sonic 4 would be a smart decision. Look at how dead inside my man looks, especially compared to this far greater Sonic Lost World render that shows the blue blur in style. The Splatoon racing suit was added in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe when it launched on April 27th, 2017, and it obviously just uses the renders from Splatoon 1. Like the Animal Crossing one, it's just a generic themed suit based on the series rather than the Inklings themselves. Unlike that one, this portrait actually sizes the Inklings in a way that doesn't look like crap, proving they could have easily made the other one look nice, but they chose not to on purpose, exclusively to peeve me. And now, nearly 3 years after I made my last video, Nintendo had the nerve to add a new Amiibo costume to the game. These bastards had one last chance to fix everything about this screen. Most of these characters received mind-blowingly beautiful renders that would have made the Amiibo screen explode with class. Just imagine how incredible things could have been. Because that's all you can do now, since the screen is cursed to forever look like shit! First off, they couldn't even bother to position Daisy with the other Mario characters, which is already enough to qualify as a felony, but on top of that, they used a render from Mario Kart Tour, which is of a significant higher quality than everyone else's. It sticks out like a sore thumb, and they transformed Daisy from an iconic, well-loved princess into nothing but an obnoxious zit. This has been a depressing journey, but I hope I was able to convey why the screen is such a heinous crime against humanity that deserves to be exposed to inform everyone as to why Nintendo is the single worst company in the history of the universe for subjecting us to this atrocious, revolting, horrible, terrible, awful, hideous, repulsive, unsightly, monstrous, ghastly, and outright ugly mess of pixels that manages to completely destroy any semblance of joy this game could have provided. It really is a shame that even after so many updates, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe will never be able to top the masterpiece that is Mario Kart Super Circuit. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this brain rot of a video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!